2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
How do I stay healthy as I navigate divorce?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, how's it going, man?
It's going well. Spring is here.
Yeah, finally yesterday was like the best day we've had in a long time.
Yeah. You know, I got to tell you, like, I'm so like dad. Like, let me tell you.
Okay.
So I was so proud of myself because I went and I bought fertilizer like a few weeks back, and I applied it. And so I went out of town and I got back in town. We had a couple warm days and my grass was like turning green, like early. And it was like the best thing ever.
You are way too much like dad.
It's like, I can't wait for like midsummer when it's just like thick and I have to mow it like 4 times a week.
You know what's so funny about that, Brannon, is like, you know, dad always took pride in his green grass. Like, he had the greenest grass on the
and he nailed it.
Lawn, and he knew how to put right down the fertilizer, the humates, everything. And then he got us into like a lawn care business when we were boys. I remember him strapping a lawnmower to the back of our bike with some bungee cords and sending us off down the road to like mow the old ladies, you know. And then we did our lawn care business. I got so sick of lawn care that in my own house, I do everything I can to avoid it. I don't even care if my grass is green. So
yeah.
So you're different.
I noticed that you have this little like strip for a backyard, and I have like a park.
And I told my wife I want to rip up that strip and put something else there just so I don't have any grass.
Yeah.
So
well, you're like the farmer's son that like does not want to become a farmer.
I just want my portion of the land so I can sell out and like put housing on it or something. So anyway.
Anyways, we have an awesome guest today. We're excited to have him here. We'll just kind of turn it over to him. So we have Marcus here with us today. And Marcus, if you could just tell us what's going on, fill us in a little bit, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, thanks, gentlemen. It's good to meet you. I may take a second just to give you some backstory, but same story you hear from guys in recovery of childhood trauma, early pornography and sex to cope with it. And that particularly the trauma for me was divorce. My parents divorced when I was in 8th grade, and most of my challenges stem from stem from that. I mean, not excuses, but just where the story comes from. And and yeah, I've been in recovery for 15 months, I guess. Started a recovery group here in my hometown, or not my hometown, but where I'm living now. Some of the backstory of the challenges in marriage and my destructive behaviors. There's been anger issues and like, throwing things or hitting things. There's been the pornography addiction. And then the most egregious ones were taking videos of my wife without her knowledge. And that's one of the biggest ones that's, causing this in terms of just being irreconcilable for her. And then when I first started recovery, that thing you guys talk about with just sobriety can be a little bit too much of the focus, was almost like just fuel on the fire of shame, and here I am coming to group every week, like, yeah, I slipped 3 times this week, and other guys are like, I'm on 400 days of sobriety, and I just went into some deep shame and just started lying about sobriety. And we had an agreement, my wife and I had an agreement at the time that, 30 days of sobriety, and we talk about physical intimacy again. And so I just lied through every bit of it and was just in deep shame. And that's kind of like our D-Day, I would say, when she found out that I'd been lying about it after physical intimacy. And so that was back in June of last year. And then, yeah, from that, I started actually experiencing real recovery. And it's interesting. I found you guys about the time that I discovered that recovery of self for the first time. It was like I was journaling and I was having this feeling and I didn't understand it. And it was like, I was like chatting with GPT on trying to figure out the feeling. And it was dignity. And like, I had such a reaction negatively to that of like, whoa, what? And that like, that I was like, wow, this is, I'm feeling dignity for the first time in 40 years. And so it's been from there that like real recovery has been happening, real change has been happening. And as I've unraveled codependence, it's almost felt like it's made things worse, to be honest. And then in that mix, discovered an affair, that my wife had started and had an emotional affair, or at least that's what I know, or what's been admitted to. And that was back in July. So amidst all this, I've also had to experience being a betrayed partner. And then, come February, my wife told me that there's just no path to a romantic relationship with me ever again, and that she only sees divorce as the pathway.
Okay. Yeah, I want to ask you just a couple questions. Do you come from a big family?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many kids?
Yeah. I'm the oldest of 4. And so two girls, 2
2
boys.
boys. Nice. And you're the oldest.
Yeah.
So when your parents divorced, was it a shock for you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You didn't
For sure.
expect it?
It was a paradigm shift completely. Yeah.
So they kind of hid it from you, like stuff that was going on, and all of a sudden, like boom, your world was falling apart.
For sure.
And I just want to dig in a little bit. Like you say, we've heard this story before, but I just want to see if there's more to it. Is that when your pornography use really amped up and went into hiding, and when you were in your early adolescence?
It was a little delayed from there, but it honestly was it was less pornography but a sexually active, young adult life. I mean, not young adult, but young high school kid life. Pornography specifically really didn't, control me, so to speak, until late college.
Okay.
But yeah. And I mean, the deep wounds for me is this deep wound of feeling unseen And then the other is like, I'm not good enough. And then there's this expectation of perfection that leads me to just the shame and the despair. And instead of hyperactivity of like, oh, I'm just going to control everything, it's just like, I'm going to, like, everything's going to, I'm just going to give up. And I forgot to tell you, but wrap in there that like, I am actually clinically diagnosed bipolar. So I have like, you know, this whole other thing of like, I've experienced some really deep depression. I've experienced some hypomania. I'm, you know, on medication. So there's like a chemical component that thrown in the mix.
No, that's good to know. So
That's a lot. That's a lot. And what you've been experiencing is like, you know, some people will go and overperform, over hyper control, try to be perfect. Other people's will do kind of what you did, which is, you know, the researchable term that they refer to is the what the hell effect, where it's like, I'm never going to be able to do this right. So what the hell? I'm just going to like go do whatever I want. And then they go on the binge or whatever. And if you kind of look at it, shame, if you look at how shame operates, it's in this control and release phase. It actually really parallels what bipolar is, which is, man, I'm going to go do all this. This is going to be amazing. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this is all horrible, terrible. I can't even survive anymore. Like, and it's just this big swing, like being on a teeter-totter back and forth. Shame does the same thing. Control, 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 release. And it's just kind of back and forth. And it sounds like that's been a big part of your life for quite some time now.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, you know, pick something up, be really talented at it naturally, just excel at it, you know, at a rapid pace, and then hit rubber meet the road of like needing consistent long-term work and behavior, and then just like giving up in despair and moving on to the next thing.
all along fueling your faulty core belief system about who you are and never being enough. Remind me again that I think it was three beliefs about yourself that you just brought up.
Yeah.
What were those?
Yeah, this deep sense of feeling unseen. It's like, you know, I did have success with the parts work and also some of that childhood work. So it's like this idea of like a little boy holding up this thing and saying, "Daddy, look what I made," and like, you know, it's not good enough.
Have you dug into that of like where that might have come from?
I mean, for me, it's you know, unless I'm not getting to the full root, for me, it's I wasn't good enough to save their marriage.
Oh, gotcha.
It's my behavior that caused it, and if I had been good enough, then it would have been saved.
Wow, you had a lot of responsibility on your shoulders as an eighth grader. Wow.
And the other one is just being unseen and all that, you know, never getting the help with that weight of knowing that exists, and helping to release that burden, and teaching me that it wasn't that it wasn't me.
Yeah. Because when you're in it as a kid, like that's your reality. That's just what you believe. That it's your responsibility. If Marcus was more perfect, if you were good enough, you could save the family. And I can definitely hear, you remind me a lot of someone I know really well, my oldest brother. And you remind me a lot of him.
Oh man, yeah, me and Tyler would hit it off. Like like you guys don't know me from Adam, but I feel like we've had like 1,000 conversations. Yeah,
Yeah.
me and Tyler are definitely fitting image.
Yeah. I mean, and I say this to both you guys, like the pressure and the weight, and it really is unfair because like you don't know that that's the system that you're in. You're just in it. And yet you're human, so mistakes you make and deficiencies that you have and all of those things, those will be there. They have to be because you're human. And yet you hold yourself to this standard of I got everybody else. I got to be good enough for everybody else. And my my goodness and my perfectionism like really matters. Yeah, that's a shame machine if I've ever heard of one.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like every time I discovered shame to a very significant degree, it wasn't even the depth, of where it was. I
Mm-hmm.
had a similar experience 6 years ago with parts work where like I named my shame Scar. It feels very similar to that character of like he brings no physical power. He just brings this this voice of doubt, and like and I really experienced a deeply emotional connection to it, talking with it and starting to uncover and understand its motivations. It's like that I just believe in you, right? I have this like deep belief in you and know what you're capable of. And that really helped me. I mean, I had significant change from that, but I still didn't understand the depth, until that dignity moment
Mm-hmm.
last year.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about that dignity moment? Like you said, it was almost unsettling to be feeling it. Like, did you feel unworthy of it? Was it just foreign? Was it like, and how did it come about?
Yeah. So I'd finally like started has some consistency both with sobriety and with journaling every day. And I had this morning routine of it's a really helpful thing from my group that has been really lasting in creating change. I've journaled over 120,000 words just in the last 7 months, and so it's like a morning of prayer, meditation, journaling, affirmations, and gratitudes for myself. And it's from that probably like it was a good 40 days of like consistency in that. Yeah, it was in that morning of journaling, and I'd been feeling, so much more confidence, like, and it even started to see in how I interacted with the world. I'm just like looking at people in the eyes and saying, "Hey, that's a beautiful necklace," and like, "Hey, man, nice jacket." Like it just felt different. And yeah, I was I journal on how I'm feeling that morning, and yeah, I just had this. And I had not discovered your podcast yet, by the way, and so I mean, it's everything you describe. It's this centeredness, it's this groundedness, it's this root of just me, and I found it, and it was just such a beautiful moment. I was sitting on my swing on the back porch, rocking on my swing, looking at my flowers, and listening to my birds, and that's what it was for me.
Those kinds of moments are the kinds of things that actually move the needle the most in terms of lasting change and cultivating a heart that's actually going to find real recovery and true peace and happiness in life. And I think, talking about that pressure you felt, and Brannon, you kind of like called me out on this, and I just maybe want to share part of my story as it relates to this principle for a second, Marcus. We talk sometimes about family roles in our practice. There's all these different roles that people play. I was the family hero. Brannon played the family mascot. My other brother tended to be the scapegoat some of the time. One of my sisters probably the forgotten child. You could go pick the roles, right? Well, I willingly submitted to the role of being the family hero because that was my personality and because I was the oldest. And I was the one who was feeding myself all of this pressure to perform and be perfect for pretty much my whole childhood. And I wanted to be perfect for everyone around me because I wanted them to be pleased with me. And I didn't want to rock the boat and I didn't want to make waves. And because I was human, I had to learn how to lie and hide because I couldn't show my flaws and weaknesses. So the only thing my brother ever saw was perfection, which was hard on him because that actually like reinforced his shame of like, oh, how come Tyler's perfect and I'm not, like.
Which by the way isn't totally true, because I saw the humanity of Tyler throughout his life, and I saw this facade of perfection. I saw him striving and striving and striving, and yet I saw him lose his temper, and I saw him really be a human. And not to cut you off, Tyler, I'll hand it back to you in a second, but like there was a part of me that was really like, dude, like it's stop, like it's okay, you know? So anyways,
Yeah. And here I am thinking that he never saw any of that. And I needed to be perfect for him because I was supposed to be a good example. And meanwhile, he's watching behind the curtain, going like, "This dude's life is coming apart at the seams," you
Yeah.
know. Like, and that didn't finally blow open until after I was married and had my D-Day. And then it was in the D-Day that it all broke loose, and it was impossible for me to be the family hero ever again in my mind. There's no way, because the curtain finally got pulled back and I was left with nothingness. And it was in that nothingness that's where I had some of what you might call your dignity moments, where God was speaking to me and saying, "I finally can love you." And I'm like, "What?" Like, like I don't deserve your love. Like I'm less perfect than I've ever been. And then it all came off. Brannon, you might remember this. It all finally fully came off, and I had this breaking moment. We were at a family reunion, like a 3-day reunion, and they did like a daily like educational thing, and they asked Brannon to do a lesson on pornography and addiction, and Brannon was given this lesson about it, and it kind of got heated in the room, and there were a few questions and comments that got going, and then my wife raised her hand and she said, "Hey Tyler, do I have permission to speak about us?" I'm like, "Yeah, go for it," you know, because I'm stuck. I have to say yes now. And she's like, "Okay, well, guess what, guys? Tyler's been struggling with this his whole life, and it's okay. Like, we're gonna figure it out." Like, she was trying to bring the mood down in the room, and but she just like totally outed me. And it was like there was energy looking at all over the room, and all of a sudden it was a spotlight, like bam, right here. Whoa, Tyler, the golden child in the whole family, has had a lifelong secret. And I remember on one hand feeling completely exposed and vulnerable. And in the aftermath, I felt a deep sense of liberation. And I heard the words in my head, and I actually accepted this new role in my family. "Tyler, you're the fallen hero. You're the fallen hero now. And that's okay. Like, you don't have to shoulder the load anymore. Like, give it back to me. It's not yours to carry in the first place." And for me, because I'd grown in a system, all I knew was that was like a total shift. And I was like, what? Like, who am I going to be then? But it was freeing. It was like liberation. And since that day, it's been messy, and I've had to figure out a new role of what the fallen hero is. But it's been beautiful. And I sense that you're in the mode of moving into that space right now if you keep continuing to cultivate the right things and cultivate humility and openness to what those feelings of dignity are going to bring you.
Yeah, no, I love that story for sure, and a lot, you know, of synergy in my story as well. And yes, it has been. You know, that's part of why your podcast is so helpful, is that like each stage as I'm experiencing these things, then there's there's material and context that's helping me understand them, you know, and like as I've unraveled codependency and started to do things not out of a motivation to create or manipulate a reality, but because it's who I am. It's been really hard to even figure that out, you know. Wait, am I like so? And that's what I mean by like sometimes it feels like me getting healthy made things worse in our marriage, because there was a period where, you know, I'm doing all the check marks. I mean, I told you my routine, right? I'm like 40 days into that, you know, 50 days into that, and it's like, am I doing this for me or am I doing this for her, you know? And so there was a period where I just like, I did away with everything. I'm like, I got to find like, if this is the routine that I want for myself, you know?
love it.
And so there's just been so many things like that where it's like, I have to deconstruct to construct, because I don't know what's what and what's me and what's me still trying to perform. And you know, how to show up, but then you've got, you know, I'm grounded in a Christ, you know, a Christ follower and believer. And it's like, how do I show up the world in selflessness, but also stay rooted in my own self without, you know, it's just like, oh man.
There's Marcus, if I could kind of speak to that, you know, how do I articulate this principle? I think it's really important. One thing with Tyler's story, he left a lot of parts out, and there's parts when I saw him in really, really dark places, even to the point where I was physically assaulted, and like
that was another turning point.
Yeah, and like some really dark places, and those dark places, he was trapped. There was no way out. There was what do I do? Like how do I feel okay? And you just said deconstruct, and it's interesting because we construct all of our systems. We construct all of our shame, all of our paradigms, all of our perspectives. All those things are constructed, and when we deconstruct them, I think we think that we need to reconstruct, and that's actually not true. And that moment of dignity that you felt, I also call it nobility. I believe that you understood your noble worth in that moment. And you don't have to, it's the be do have thing. When you understand that nobility or that dignity, you transcend all of the messages that you got from your parents, from your religion, and you now understand. And because you understand, you can surrender and rest in that grace. You can just be in that grace. And there's no constructing that needs to be happening or working harder or proving yourself or being perfect. It's just like, I get it. I know. And life's not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be perfect. But when I'm imperfect, I can go rest. I can go tap into that grace. Right? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, as soon as you said surrender, so like I had a similar moment as the dignity moment in trying to navigate this, and it was, it was a particular thing that I was trying to understand, like how do I act in this? What's true to me? And I've had a hard time with step one with surrender because it's almost like too obvious. It's like, of course, I believe that Christ died, and like I'm blameless in front of this magnificent God, and He's my identity. Of course I do, but what do I do with that in a world where I make choices and actions and I take control and so I'm sitting here like journaling on that, and he just said, Marcus, you surrender to the outcome, and it was like, oh, and I love your quote, Tyler, like of that. It has process in it, right? It's like, and that's what it's like. You have faith in yourself, in your trueness from you, in your action, and whatever comes doesn't. It's like, it's not that it doesn't matter, but it's like that's what comes,
Mm-hmm.
And maybe just to add to what you guys are saying, what Brannon was saying about construction, that my experience has been that a lot of the world that I constructed when I was in the wrangle of shame and perfectionism were some of the right activities with the wrong heart. And after it all broke, and there was this place where there was room for grace, to be imperfect, to be loved no matter what, in coming to be loved, to be a beloved one of God, there's then this energy that starts to emerge that makes you want to construct something. And in my case, a lot of what I wanted to construct were some of the things I was already doing, but I wanted to do them because of my new identity rather than to get my identity.
Yes.
Like, does that make sense?
Oh yeah. I mean, when you guys introduced that concept of that we can do that, two actions can look exactly the same, but be from completely unhealthy or healthy energy, has been like so helpful for me. Like I've introduced that concept to my group all the time, and it's definitely, I mean, it's why I like did away with all the checklists for a time, of the, I'm back to journaling and doing all like that, but because I know confidently now it's from a healthy place.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Tyler.
I just want to add one more thought here to go along with what you said earlier about now I'm in this space of like, how do I focus on myself and take care of myself, but be a Christian man who's supposed to serve other people? I actually think the answer is pretty simple when you boil down to what we're talking about right now, which is the more that I cultivate a relationship with my higher power is going to fill me with all of that love that is God. And in that filling me with love, there is going to be a reminder and a development of me, who I am, my identity. And that identity is going to be then, in essence, it becomes the call to action from the master, not to be good enough, but because he's saying, this is who you are. And then all you have to do is go out into the world and be you. And so in focusing on you as it relates to your relationship with God and accepting everything he says about you, you will naturally manifest to the world all of the goodness that God intended you to manifest. Mm-hmm. So it's not a selfish thing to wake up and say, I got to cultivate my heart. I got to take care of my body. I got to become a beautiful machine here. And now that I know who I am, I'm going to use all of that energy towards the congruency of being exactly who I am.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Going along with that, Tyler, we can call that authenticity. We can call that living in your integrity. But ultimately, that's what that is. I love what you just said, Marcus. If I'm seemingly doing something good out of shame and fear, then I'm not in my integrity because I'm trying to manipulate a situation in order to get a certain outcome. If I'm clear with who I am and I'm acting on my intentions and being honest and in my integrity, that's all I can do. Now, does that mean that I'll never get divorced? Does that mean I'll never experience a bankruptcy, or that my parents will never get divorced either? No. So if I live in my integrity today, those things still might happen. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I'm living it.
So if we insert one thing, then it all makes sense, and that's God's will, not yours, but God's. If we insert God's will of like, look, God has us. There's a reason. We don't know what that is. We don't know what we're learning. But as long as we know that God has us, then those outcomes of divorce or bankruptcy or a loved one dying or whatever, they don't define me. It's not an indictment of my worth. It just is life. I'm learning, I'm growing, and I'm open to those lessons. And God is loving me through all of it, the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So living a life of surrender, right? Living a life in faith is ultimately like true recovery. Like no more control.
Yeah.
That's real recovery.
Yeah, I love the saying you have of, it's recovery of self.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. And you touched on the third one. You'd asked what were the three wounds. The third one that I haven't mentioned that I'm realizing now too, not just what I haven't communicated, is rejection. There's this like deep sense of rejection. It's part of like why this divorce is so particularly hard, especially after getting healthy, after being a betrayed spouse and wanting to make it work, and like that it's like, yeah, the hero has no control, and his world is crumbling, and it's like, what, like Tyler was saying, what do you do now? And particularly strong wound is now my children going through this thing that's like the depth of my trauma and my wound, and that's particularly just
the repetition of history.
Yes, it's that one is really deep.
Man, I'm having like echoes of the Wild at Heart concept, by John Eldridge, that says, every man incurs this wound, the arrow to the heart that says, I'm not good enough, or I'm not man enough. And then later on in the book, he talks about how every man's going to have to navigate at the point of the wound his surrender back to God. And man, like your situation is such, especially with rejection, like here I am finally getting in touch with a higher power that loves me and offers grace and is leading me to take care of myself, have new healthy boundaries, live in nobility, live in the nobility that I was called to. And in doing so, I'm losing everything that's hitting on that very nerve of rejection. And I'm reliving the trauma that I experienced that formed all these beliefs in the first place. And you're now at a crossroads again, where that crossroads is going to want to suck you back down the old familiar path and back into your shame, back into your loss, back into playing small, back into perfectionism, or it's going to continue to invite you into a new space of cultivating your heart and confronting the cave that you have to go through.
Yeah.
And you're right on that doorstep. And the question that the whole title of the episode is, how do I stay healthy as I navigate divorce? I think the biggest principle that's coming out today, and Brannon kind of said it, and you kind of really nodded your head, is the continued returning to a higher power and surrendering the outcomes and then operating from a place of love.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Marcus, like this is exactly what Tyler just said. And I want to see if you can apply this. Is it possible for you to grieve with your children, for you to weep with your children, for you to feel that pain with them and not make it about you? Do you understand my question?
Yeah, that I'm not grieving with them out of shame in what I've done, or that I caused this, that I'm sitting in the feeling with them that I felt when I was a child.
The empathy.
Holding that with them and showing up for them in the way that boy wanted, seeing them.
You've been them. So, and you know what you needed then. And if your shame comes up, you'll run and hide from this pain of theirs because it'll be too much for you. If you're able to do what Tyler just said, if you're able to let go and know that you're loved unconditionally, even though this is happening, and yeah, you have made mistakes along the way, but it still doesn't define who you are, then you can go sit there with them and give them the very thing that you didn't get. Right.
Yeah.
And it's painful still really, it's a bitter cup, to watch your children hurt. Like, I don't know if there's anything worse than that. Right.
Yeah.
But you're strong enough to be there with them through it. So.
Thank you. And Tyler, I appreciated the crossroads narrative. I definitely, that definitely touched a string, when you said that I do feel that and part of the strangeness of the crossroads too is like that this person standing here, has so little experience, like the true self has never navigated and controlled my life, but for 7 months basically. So yeah, there's definitely this feeling of crossroads for sure.
Yeah.
And we run into those crossroads over and over and over again. I know I quote this a lot, but I'm going to quote it for you, Marcus, because it fits here. It's called The Upward Reach, and it says, "He stood at the crossroads all alone, the sunlight in his face. He had no thought for an evil course. He was set for a manly race. But the road stretched east," and think about your younger boy in this moment. "But the road stretched east and the road stretched west, and he did not know which road was best. So he took the wrong road, and it let him down, and he lost the race and the victor's crown. And he was caught at last in an angry snare, because no one stood at the crossroads there to show him a better road." And here's your adult self now, Marcus. "Another day, the self-same place, a boy with high hope stood. He too was set for a manly race. He was seeking the things that were good. And one was there who the roads did know, and that one showed him the way to go. So he turned away from the road leading down, and he won the race and the victor's crown. He walks today the highway fair, because one stood at the crossroads there to show him the better road." You had a chance to re-navigate this. It's a gift as much as it is a cave to enter. And you have you have a newfound relationship with the higher power, and you have newfound relationship with people who are acting in the higher power's place to show you a better way. And I'm really grateful to have been able to talk to you today and see this little snapshot part of your journey, even though I know you're in kind of a rough spot right now.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was definitely really, really helpful and good to get to speak with you too.
I think of you sitting on that porch and looking at your flowers and feeling what you felt, and right there was a crossroad. Right there, someone was there pointing you in the right direction, and God is real, and I don't think you can deny that, Marcus. You've felt it, right? And God is showing up for you through all of this turmoil, through all the things you've been through. God is fighting like crazy for your heart, right? So this conversation, I love it because it's the deeper work. It's the real work of recovery that we've talked about today. And you'll navigate your divorce just fine if you stay in this place of faith and surrender and humility. You'll do awesome. So thanks for coming on, Marcus. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you both.
Any last thoughts before we wrap up? We know you got a hard stop to get to.
Man, I've been cold plunging 2 weeks.
Heck yeah.
The
I love it, man.
endorphin high off of it is nuts. I can't I want it every day. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's its own form of an addiction sometimes.
But yeah, I appreciate the encouragement because I usually don't do trendy things. Like I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. But yeah, you guys said it enough. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah. Well, good for you, man. I'm glad you're getting some benefit from it. Thank you, man. Thanks for coming on today. Thanks for the energy you brought today. We'd love to hear, months down the road how your journey's going.
Yeah, I would love to come back. And I know there's been an episode on a male betrayed spouse too, and can share a lot of what that experience has been like too. So
yeah, I would love to dig in with that for sure. All right, you guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. If this was helpful, please be sure to share it. And until next time, keep on keeping on.